Hello and welcome to this motherfucker's ship. Thank you for joining us today. I am the commander, General Lax Sivrak. Thank you for joining us today. So we have a figure to open, and it is another general, General Kael from Super 7 Reaction Figures Super 7. It's a shame. I don't know. I've never been a huge. I was gonna say it's a shame I'm opening this because the card's real nice and it's unpunched, but I've only recently gotten into collecting on card, and that's pretty much you people in the community's fault. Uh, but yeah, I have I'm looking over here at the. Well, you've seen me. I have my little pegboard of on card things, which I need to probably expand. Um, so we'll see. But anyway, yeah, General Kael. Now, I have to say, and you know what? I don't know where it is, and I wish I'd have thought of this, but I have an original General Kael figure. Maybe we'll do a show. I have no idea where it is, but it is around here. But I have an original General Kael figure, which of course the originals were they were bigger than Britain's figures, but they were definitely like a Britain figure, right? They were static. They were like a in a pose, and they had the little metal base that had the there was like little T pegs on the bottom of the feet that you put in there and twisted. They were just like Britain's figures, but they were larger. There was two General Kaels. There was one on a horse and one on foot. And yeah, they're very much like fucking Britain's figures now that I think about it. But so maybe look for a short later at some point. We'll just put these two together. But this is a 3 3/4 inch. The original was much smaller, maybe 2 inches, maybe 2.5 inches. I'm not sure, but we'll give you a nice look here. Nice card. I'll put my hand on the plastic, so nice card art. There's old Val Kilmer, R.I.P. buddy. But yeah, this was a great film from whatever it was, 88. You know, if you think of like 80s, to me anyway, growing up, like Star Wars, obviously, and I was raised on John Wayne movies and Westerns, but as far as movies from the 80s, like The Princess Bride and Willow, like those were the kids or family-oriented movies. You know, obviously there's a lot of other decent movies from the 80s, but I'm saying family-appropriate. You know, something that you could watch with your grandmother and your, 5-year-old kid, or however old. But yeah, Willow was definitely one of those. On the back, it has a little write-up here, not about General Kael. It just says, in the motion picture Willow, 1988, a young farmer is chosen to undertake a perilous journey in order to protect a special baby from an evil queen. And then there's a lot of legalese on the back. Made in Vietnam. Hey, this is made in Vietnam. That's kind of cool. I did not know Reaction Super 7 figures were made in Vietnam. That's cool. So yeah, well, let's get into it. So very nice. Good art. Yeah, General Kael, as I said in my last video when we were opening up the box, dude, General Kael is like, I mean, that was one of the baddest fucking, that was one of the coolest bad guys of the 80s, you know? Like Vader and Kael to me were the top scary fucking bad guys, you know? Not counting like horror movies and people that are like supposed to be scary and shit, you know, but just like Matter of fact, I always kind of thought of General Kael as like the medieval version of Darth Vader, you know? So, I would like to get a, there's a guy on Etsy selling a 3D printed and finished General Kael helmet, and it's fucking badass. So yeah, let's get General Kael out of here. We'll put him, we'll get his sword out too. So General Kael, he sports a, it's definitely a unique sword, right? Well, as you know, I'm a big, well, you can't see all my swords up here, but I'm a big sword aficionado. I study swords. Shout out to Matt Easton's Scholar Gladiatoria. I know you're not watching, but if you have any interest in historical edged weapons, definitely watch that channel. He's a very knowledgeable young man from London, I believe. But yeah, first let's look at, man, so General Kael has a very unique sword, right? So these edges, these are very much like a sawtooth, but in the old days they would, you know, they'd have like a wave. That's called a flamberge. Flambe is French. Might not be pronouncing that right, but like a flamberg, right? But then you can see he also has a double cross hilt here. And his is traditionally on like, this would be on like a great sword, right? Now General Kael's was a very large sword, but it was not a great sword by any means. But on a great sword is where you would see the secondary cross guard. And it would be higher. Right, and the point of that would be is a guy would half sword with it, right? So you'd have one hand on the handle, and you'd have your other hand in between these two guards. And you know, whether you use it underhanded, pointing up like a spear, or overhanded, pointing down like a bow staff, that would be up to the user. But that's what that feature is for. He also has a double ring guard, as you can see here, right? So he has like a traditional cross guard, but then he has these double rings, right? And that was like a an add-on. Ooh, you know, don't quote me on this, but you know, like up until like, I don't know, the 11th, 12th, 13th century, you see a lot of cross guards. Then like maybe in the beginning of the 14th century, you start to see these rings. Then the other thing he has here, you see these supplement, these other little prongs right here that come up and make a little loop. That is called a finger ring, right? And that would be for what they would traditionally call fingering the guard, right? So instead of holding your, we can probably demonstrate that actually on my knife here. Right, so instead of holding your edged weapon in a saber grip or a hammer grip, which is also can be called a handshake grip, some people would do what they're called fingering the guard, right? So you would slide your finger up over the cross guard, right? And it makes for a much livelier, you have a lot more control, you know, but you also can retain it better, right? So like the saber grip, which I think actually this is called the handshake grip, I don't remember. But anyway, the saber grip, thumb up the back, that, you know, is for a lot of control and fine work. But when you finger the guard, you maintain that kind of dexterity, but you have a much firmer grip on it, right? And people were doing that in the 11th and 12th and 13th centuries, but it wasn't until like the 14th century did someone decide to add, so this little ring coming up, right, that's where your finger would then be protected. Sorry about that, I was working on the truck today, so I still got some fucking grease on me. So that's what these finger rings are for. They're for fingering the guard, right? And then at some point somebody said, well, hey, let's add a piece from the blade down like that. So that's what these are right there. Anyway, General Kael's sword was definitely a very unique and totally custom fucking badass mamma jamma. So big fan. So that's, so we have a little, so 10 minutes in and we've just talked about the man's fucking sword here, but very cool. And we'll get to the figure. Very nice figure. Be able to see him without the glare. 5 POA, you know, so should fit in with most of my 90s Power of the Force 2 figures. I absolutely got this figure to put in Lack's throne room. So stay tuned to the end of the video and we'll see what he looks like. See what he looks like. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Pat Roach play General Kael? Am I wrong about that? I could totally be wrong about that. I think, no. Was it? No. Maybe. No. Anyway, let me know in the comments who the guy who played General Kael is. I would have liked to seen a wash on this helmet, on the face here, to bring out some of these, and there's really actually not a lot of detail in there, but I think this would benefit from a wash, which we may do. I have some other figures, little schmutz on there. Oh, it's a little paint, little silver paint on the brown, but I think we got it. I have some figures that I've been meaning to do some washes on, so when we eventually do that, we'll add this guy, and we'll try to do a light wash on the face just to bring out some of the details there. Now, I don't ever recall seeing the back of General Kael's helmet, so I don't know if that's what it looked like, but I don't know if we ever saw it in the film. But yeah, so standard 5 POA, right? Legs, shoulders, head, and that's it. No swivel at the waist. He's got a fairly vintage style, unexciting cape here. It's amazing that they never did a, you know, what was that, you know, like the Robin Hood figures, the Kevin Costner Robin Hood had quite a few action figures, but it was, you know, strange that Willow never got any 3 3/4 inch, you know, more substantial ones than the originals we got, which were like larger scale Britons, but anyway, yeah, General Kael. And I'm not exactly, so he's got the one silver gauntlet and then one black gauntlet. I'll have to go back into the movie and see if that's accurate. We'll do his, let's see if we can get his sword in his hand. I imagine when we put this guy in the throne room, we will probably be displaying him. So here's just a quick look with the sword. Very badass. Now I imagine in the throne room we will, I don't know if this sword is going to be long enough to do this, but in the throne room we will probably display it, you know, holding it maybe like this. So yeah, man, super excited, super exciting. Maybe we should try the other hand. The other hand is got less of a bend in it. No, it's got more of a bend in it. I'm trying to see. Yeah, this hand is longer, so it would probably So yeah, I got this on Big Bad Toy Store. I'm not sure who else is in the line or if they are even in stock, but so yeah, we'll probably display them something like this in Lack's throne room up here. So anyway, yeah, hey, please drop a like and a comment. So many of you lovely people are always commenting, and I appreciate that. I have not had time. I try to like and heart all the comments of lately. I used to be really good about answering back every comment. I know I've been slacking on that, so forgive me. But when we get a chance, we will try to go back and go through. But just know that I really appreciate the comments. That really is one of my favorite things, you know, to be able to open up my phone or whatever and see that there's, you know, a lot of comments. But anyway, hit that like button, tickle that like button, baby, and drop a comment. I appreciate you stopping by. We will have some more. We have plenty of more shit to open. I don't know when we'll get to do those videos. I'm going back to work. I work Monday through Friday. And I've been getting up real early, so I haven't been doing a lot of shit during the week. Next weekend I have the Cubs, so we'll see if I get a chance to make a video. So I guess, you know, as of right now, like maybe look for shit every other weekend. But definitely thank you to everybody. We're up to 391 subscribers, which is pretty fucking amazing. I appreciate that. And hey, I appreciate everybody, all right? I have been General Lack Sivrak. This is General Kael, one of the baddest 1980s fucking bad guys of all time. And as always, I will see you on down. Oh, hey, stay tuned. We'll put this fucker up in here. And I was about to fucking sign off, but no, stay tuned. We'll put Kael up here and we'll show you what he looks like. Hopefully I won't feel the need to redo this whole thing, but we might. Who knows? Anyway, I've been General Lack Sivrak. I will continue to be. I appreciate your viewership and your friendship, as always, and I will see you on down the trail. All right, welcome back to Lack's Throne Room. We don't have much that's changed since the last time you've seen this, all right? We still got Imbo from the last video sitting over here, and we've just made a little bit of room right over here, next to our custom of Dylan visitation, right there on the left. And then here is General Kael. So we've just snugged him right in there on the staircase, behind the IG droid, right there. So yeah. Now at some point, we'll probably will be redoing this whole thing. We got to add some, we're going to do something in the background, right, of this doorway right there. We need to do something there. Cut that out. I don't know. Maybe we'll put a bar in right there. I think Gilster said he's sending me a bar. So we might black out the back of that and put a bar in front of it. Not sure. Again, everybody's favorite, Disco Lack. Imbo. And we really just, you know, we just got a bunch of badass motherfuckers hanging out in the throne room. And now we have the addition of General Kael. So there you have it. All right, well, I've been General Lack Sivrak. General Lack Sivrak. General Lack Sivrak. Night Fever General Lack Sivrak. And then we got another Lack Sivrak hanging out right there. So Lack Sivrak's all around. All right, got another Lack Sivrak right there. And of course another Lack Sivrak right here. And another Micro Machines Lack Sivrak right there. So I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere. We also have Lax Zivrak Gentle Giant. Right there. Still in the box. So, but, yeah, we're going to do a shelf on top of this so we can put some lights down in here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the shelf up here. Might just make it all lax. Might do a 6-inch Tantive 4 display. And then we have underneath here, we're going to put in the, I want to do like a Rancor pit down here, but I'm also trying to figure out, I want to actually do maybe like some dungeons and maybe the droid torture area. And then, you know, if you remember from Return of the Jedi, you know, the Rancor pit, they were looking at it through here, and it opened through here, but, you know, Luke plainly came in through like a tunnel, like a chute. So, you know, make that make sense. You know, unlike the Battlefront game, you didn't just fall straight through. You know, they came through a door that opened with a tunnel. So maybe we can figure out some way to achieve that down here under the bottom in some capacity. Anyway, thanks for joining me on this review. I guess it wasn't like it was a lack review. So, but yeah, so we have General Kael hanging out, protecting General Lax Zivrak in his throne room. All right. See everybody on the next one.